What is the self? The word self has many meanings. Different people think it's different things. I'm just going different concepts of self now, not what really the self might be, just concepts. On the most surface, they say clothes makes the man. I'm the general. I'm the guy in the Brooks Brothers suit. I'm the woman with this designer dress. I don't know their names. We know that's a little superficial. The next one, I'm this body, walks around like this. It looks like this, it looks like that. That's a little bit of trouble because everyone's body is enormously different than it was when they were this tall. And if you can remember when you were that tall, people say, it's my memories, I was there. We're talking just common sense. I was there. It happened to me, it didn't happen to you. Almost every atom is different and changed. In my teaching classes, I ask students this, and I say, how many of you ever had a dream where you were in a different body? Lots of hands go up. You're in a different body, could be a different sex, a different size, could be an animal's body, could be a fantasy body like in the science fiction or video games. Yeah. Well, wait. But that was you in that body. I'm not talking causally, I'm just talking about in terms of your subjective experience. Well, yeah. That means on some deep intuitive sense you have that your body isn't yourself, regardless of what your theories may tell you. Even further, a more intimate thing than the body is a personality. Well, I'm this person. I'm proud, or I'm a little ashamed, or I'm an anxious person, whatever. That's what I think I am, or I have these values. That's really who I am. Deep thing, personality. And then I ask, how many of you have ever done something in a dream that you'd never dream of doing? And people laugh. Everyone. But you did it. That means the personality you shaped, you're independent of that in your dream, on an intuitive level inside. So you're not your personality either. I don't know that this happens in traditional societies, but in modern society, people try to figure out who they are. Traditional societies, you know who you are. That's what you're going to be, and that's it. You're born that way. You're the carpenter, the shoemaker, the farmer, the peasant, the king, whatever. And almost everyone in our society remembers in high school or college days trying on this personality, trying on that personality, and I'll act like this and I'll act like that. And the kids all say, yeah, right. Even adults still do that. Well, wait a minute. Notice what you just said. You're trying on this personality. You're trying on that personality. That means you, deep down, don't think you're that personality. We're going through levels from the outside in. In the dream, I say, how many have had a dream where you're just watching it like a video camera? I mean, a lot of people have that kind of dream, yeah. You're just watching, not having any special thoughts, not having any emotionals or anything. You're just watching it like a camera. Oh, yeah. But look, you're watching it, right? Yeah. That means that you conceive of also as not needing personality, some level of you. Everyone I've talked to has had some of these. And many people, a good percentage, have all of these different levels and things in a dream. That means somehow you're different in concept, in self-concept, from clothes, body, personality, everything you can identify, just the watcher. That's that. But what is that? I can't tell what that is. And meditation traditions then say you can learn to let all these other things drop off. I'm not an advocate of trying to use effort. That usually makes it harder. Whatever you use effort, you get stuck to whatever you're doing effort on. So there are kinds of meditation where it's absolutely effortless. I did Zen for years. I've done decades of transcendental meditation. They expose all of these things, but the Zen I did, it's tough concentration. TM, no concentration. So it tends on the average person to allow the average person within 2 or 3 days to let all this stuff drop off until way just deep inside. Then you get familiar with it. And what was sort of hidden and subliminal at best, but all the other stuff is gone, and then you see that thing that was left over with no particular attributes. It's like if you're watching a movie, you'll be seeing all the action on the screen and hearing all the stuff. And if it was an action movie, you get all lost in it. But it's all happening on a flat screen. You don't notice the screen. Take off all the media and you may see the screen. So one thing that happens in deep meditation, all the media is going. And what the screen of awareness is just a metaphor. The screen of awareness becomes apparent. It was just subliminal before. You gain the experience of it by itself. And then gradually, now here's the account from yoga, the nervous system tunes itself to that. Why? Because it feels better. How much better? All the way to absurd levels of unimaginable bliss. But we don't need to go that far. Just feels okay. No problem. It's all right. Nervous system likes that, speaking physically. Subjectively, we like it, speaking mentally. And so automatically there's a tendency to, by itself, not by one's volition. One's volition can only just sort of mess it up, like trying to go to sleep. That's not very useful. It just starts tuning itself to that. And in time, it becomes apparent all the time. And then everything that we see begins to be seen as on and in this three-dimensional, or four with time, screen of our own awareness. And that life, by all reports, is better. Objective reports as well as subjective reports, but subjectively. And that is what I think the real self is. But some traditions say it's no self, because all these other things that people ordinarily think is a self, they're not there in the deep thing. They're there just like your hand and foot. And the no-self people, you come out and you live through your ego and you live through your body, of course. Other traditions say that's the real self, and they write it in English with a capital S, and the others little s. You need a little s self or you don't, no experience of anything. You need the personality. How do we function and react? You need the body. There's nothing to locate, nothing to do, nothing to sense. So they're all layers of self. Even a lot of the Buddhists, especially American Buddhists, only emphasize no self. I mean, there's a big debate within Buddhism. In East Asian Buddhism, it's called the Mahaparisamadhi Sutra, where when Zen is Japanese, Chan is Chinese way of saying it, which is Dhyan, the Sanskrit meditation. Same thing, just means meditation. And when Bodhidharma came to China out of India, he was supposedly the 28th successor out of Buddha, after Buddha. And he said that the deeper part is lost. But what the sutras say, this is the Far Eastern way, the sutras say the no-self doctrine is the preliminary. It's to free us from all these other, attachment to all these other notions of self. When you get that, it becomes all self-doctrine, self with a capital S. Meditation then speaks directly to this knowledge of the self. And then all the external layers of self, so far as we gather from ancient traditions and contemporary research, become more integrated and healthy. So it's not one versus the other. You get to the deep and it enhances the other. The self to me is just consciousness. The deep thing is just consciousness. There's no left, right, back, forth, up, down, nothing. Then something, as you come out, happens. You're just consciousness, but in the midst of emptiness. There's nothing there. But there is something, namely there is a there, and your attention there. It can be all around like a sphere. That's there. And if you come out further, which everyone does, and thinking comes. And then your personality and feelings. And then, oh, here's my body. All those other things are part of what the self does. We live all of that. And depending on the context, it's reasonable to call one thing the self, another thing the self, this one and this one. Taking any one of those for all the contexts is just confusing to everybody. They won't know what's going on. There's nothing you could say really about this one where there's nothing there. It doesn't come, it doesn't go, it doesn't do anything. If you're watching a movie, you have a different concern than if you want to make sure the screen is functioning properly. So what are you looking at? Are you looking at the surface of the TV? Are you looking at the director's intelligence in the movie? Are you looking at the quality of the actors and actresses? Are you looking at the cinematography? Are you looking at the story? Are you looking at the plot and the feelings and getting into all of that? Yes. depending on what you're looking at. So when we're talking about the self, it depends on the context. The importance of understanding all these levels is having a hierarchy of importance for life. Is it more important that my clothes look good or that my body be healthy? Is it more important that my body be healthy or that my emotions be strong and healthy? And that my intellect be coherent and integrated and perceptive? Or that my awareness itself is alive and full of this nice feeling inside? The deeper levels, the freer they are from the surface, paradoxically, the better they can enjoy the surface. The inner levels are the levels we really live from. They're the ones that matter. Do you want to live for your armor or live for the health of the body in the armor? But if we don't know these levels, only the armor, only the body, only my personality, only my intellect and its principles. All of those are external, relatively speaking. So a lot of traditions and people say the self is illusion. Well, yes and no. Somebody say they don't have a self. Who am I talking to? The ancient traditions, what they mean is that the more surface levels are illusory. They have significance, but they are not the real self. Because if we give it over importance, we get stuck to them and the reality gets messed up. Living for my suit of armor is going to really mess up my sinews, my skin, all this stuff. You make a friend, somebody looks nice, and you sit and talk. And then you get to know them better. And then you get to know them better. And then you get to know them better. Ultimately, no picture and no position is the real self. And the deepest thing is there's nothing you can say about what you really are. It's that which simply lives. So there's sense to saying it's illusory, and there's nonsense. The trouble is, if someone's at a level, say 6 levels, and someone's at level 3 and says it's all illusory, they don't understand there's more reality in the deeper ones. And typically the great Zen masters, for example, and the great yogis, and the great Vedantins, and the great Rinpoches, they'll say, oh, there's self. Unless it's a context in which the people are going to take it wrong, and then they say, no, you got to get rid of it. On the deepest level of self, which is just consciousness, you can call it pure consciousness, but some people think consciousness means just ego and content. The Zen call it your self-nature in the English translation, or suchness, all kinds of words that take to get us out of the regular way of thinking. You take away awareness and there's nothing. There's no value. Imagine a universe where nothing is conscious. Would anything have any value? No. Value means value to some living being. Some feeling, appreciating being. Take away consciousness, you got nothing. So actually, this deep level of self is the most real thing that any of us have. You take it away, all the rest is gone. But for most of us, unfortunately, it's out of sight. We don't know what it is. And people want to find themselves and prove themselves and be themselves. Right. It's like going to the refrigerator when you were a little kid and saying, Mom, there's nothing to eat, even though it's crammed full of food. What does that mean? What you're looking for isn't there. You don't say there's nothing to eat if you knew what you wanted. You say, Mom, there's no blah, blah, blah to eat. People are going through life. There's nothing to eat. And they're eating more and more of the stuff that doesn't quite satisfy them. And everything gets out of balance. Physically, you just get fatter if you do that. Gross national product. Really, is that our measure of success? To the extent that we get this self inside, or there's no self inside, you're satisfied. You've got the basis for real life. Because then you're not having to hold on irrelevantly. There's an image. It's used in ancient India. Take a big earthen jug with a narrow neck. Put some seeds or nuts in it. The monkey, he's a pretty good sense of smell, finds him there. Reaches his hand in. Gets a whole handful of nuts. Can't get the hand out. And the hunter catches the animal. It's a simple, nice story. When I actually see it, it's the monkey's freaking out. It's really furious at that point. But he's still not letting go of the nuts there that he got, or seeds and the thing. That's how we're living our lives in the modern world, nationally as well as individually. No, I don't mean America. I mean all over the world now. But once you're well fed, you don't have to hold on dysfunctionally. You could take out 1 nut, 2 nuts. You don't need those nuts. You'd rather be able to walk around and not get caught. So it's not a matter of inside versus outside. It's a matter of gaining the inside so that we can make best use of the outside, individually and mutually, and share it. That's the real story about meditation. The whole thing gets better. The brain has feedback loops. It has a central job other than reproduction is to get healthy. Stay healthy, be healthy. That's its bottom line. And it has to refer to itself, the organism itself. It's a feedback system, so that it has sensory response, or a kind of functional response to when there's injuries. And when the body isn't healthy, or the emotions, same thing, we're uncomfortable. And it has a bottom line state in which the organism is integrated. That's what it likes. Ultimately. That's actually the mechanics of how one succeeds in meditation, I think. One allows the mind to settle into that state so that the nervous system is in its bottom line state of integration. That's why it feels like bliss. The brain is in that state that it wants to have underneath everything else. To the extent that gets stabilized, everything else is being organized better. So to the extent that the brain influences our health from inside, and it's fairly large, that gets potentiated. That's why there's so much research on some techniques, at least. Health gets markedly better. Reaction time gets better. Personality gets better. Anxiety goes down. Interpersonal relations improve. Mind-body interaction, that gets better, that coordination. Athletes in training do better. Students do markedly better in academic performance. People working in businesses, more productivity, more job satisfaction, less competing for promotion, getting promoted more. All of this simply because the organism is healthier inside. Because the bottom line reference for what health of the organism is inside is being enlivened. That's why it's bliss. Better than sex. Better than orgasm. And even if you don't experience that, it's all right. If you go and buy a stereo, what I was taught as a little kid, what you want to do, one of the first things, is take all the media off and turn the volume up full. What should you hear? Nothing. That's a hi-fi system. Maximizes signal-to-noise ratio. Same thing with the nervous system. You get that state sustained where there's nothing. In the midst of everything else, your system becomes more hi-fi, and you got the best chance of recovering from old pathologies and wounds and avoiding new ones. When the brain gets this state, it organizes the body and the mind and the behavior better. Hospital admissions in every major category, except pregnancy, which isn't a disease, significantly down. So striking that when that came out, there was a whole hour Nightline show just on this one thing. So, I mean, there is real effects like that. It's not magic. It's bit by bit, day by day, but that's the actual growth. Because of that, I think there's one real take-home message for the intellectual world. I think this stuff, it's sure to be obvious by now, is enormously important for individuals in society, the whole world. And right now, meditation research is a gigantic jumble. People lump meditations together as though they're all the same. They're really not. They have different intended effects, all kinds of stuff, as well as these deep experiences. And there's tens of millions of people in America who've tried meditation thinking they were going to get something that was produced by other techniques. And they quit because it's a big jumble and it's useless. What I think we really need, dirt cheap, you can lose one tiny fighter bomber and pay for this whole program. We need collaborative work, skeptics on the whole thing on them too, to determine which techniques produce what effects on what populations over what time frames. And some people say, very reasonably, I have to put in the critiques, well, my technique is really designed to do that. And if we compare it like this, it's a short-term thing. That one will look better, but I know mine's better like this. Yeah, I've been hearing that for 30 years. The 30 years has gone past, so if we had all done this kind of research continually over that time, we would see the long-term effects as well as the short-term effects. So far as I'm concerned, there's no excuse. We really need this program. We live in a world inundated with glib talk and advertising, slick, very intelligent advertising, from all the cultures of the world streaming everywhere on everybody now with the net. How do you tell what's what? The best way to tell what's what, so far as I'm concerned, on this kind of level, are to use the protocols of modern science, which are designed as well as we can to separate out good talk and wishful thinking from reality. This is the only way the average person and consumer is going to be able to figure out what's what. And that's necessary if the world is to be able to get the advantage of this. So we need this kind of program. That's my plea.